Good evening, I'm Ryan Bonazzo. Thank you for joining us. The makeshift homeless encampment near County Fair Mall was the subject of a special meeting today between Mayor Bill Mauro and several local agencies. Mauro says the group also discussed overall concerns about homelessness in the city. There's no plan yet to deal with this specific encampment. The former gas bar is situated on private property. That's complicated the city's efforts to properly address the matter. Shoppers and mall management have been raising concerns about the cleanliness of the area and for public safety. City officials, police, the Norwest Clinic, and District Social Services were involved in today's meeting. Although no decisions were made about a specific course of action, Mauro hopes to receive additional support from senior levels of government.
We all know we need support from the senior orders of government, the province and the federal government for long-term solutions, that the entire North American continent is dealing with these challenges. They're not simple, they're complex, and we're looking to see what role the city might be able to play in terms of coordinating some of the work that is already ongoing. There are multiple agencies doing great work already on the issue to try and provide these individuals with the supports that they need and connect them to the supports that they need.
Mauro says the city has been in communication with the private property owner, but details on that discussion were not disclosed. Mauro says he'll continue to work with local health and service agencies to help address housing and homelessness in Thunder Bay. What's believed to be the tallest structure in the city is coming down tomorrow. The smokestack at the former OPG station on Mission Island is being toppled as the demolition company that owns the site continues to clear all remnants of the abandoned power plant. Locals should keep their eyes peeled around 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's the first of 3 major implosions that Budget Demolition will complete this year. The 200-meter beacon is the first and most notable to go. Site manager Jeremy Later says they're creating a 1-kilometer safety perimeter around the site for tomorrow's blast, and they want the public to stay away for caution's sake.
I want to make sure that everyone stays away from Mission Island, maybe go somewhere else in the city with higher elevations, and also stay out of the water around the island and in the channel. But we also have the OPP and the City of Thunder Bay Police patrolling these areas.
Back in September of 1998, a smaller stack was taken down on the same OPG property on Mission Island. That one was just over 100 meters tall, about half the size of the big stack coming down tomorrow. The Northwest Region OPP have announced a major drug bust following a 4-month investigation into cocaine distribution, a network that spans 5 different communities. Nearly 2 kilograms of cocaine and other illicit drugs were seized, along with 6 vehicles and more than $70,000 in cash. 14 people are facing drug trafficking and other charges, 10 from Thunder Bay and 4 from the Dryden area. The OPP says Project Ogden began in May, involving numerous OPP units and detachments with help from Thunder Bay Police, Dryden Police, and NAPS. The drug network also stretched to Greenstone, Sioux Lookout, and Fort Francis. The 14 accused will appear in court over the next month. Investigations are underway at the Fort Francis jail following the death of an inmate over the weekend. Paramedics were called to the facility Saturday night, according to the Ministry of the Solicitor General, after the individual was found in medical distress. The person then died en route to a nearby hospital. The Office of the Chief Coroner and the Ministry are each conducting investigations into the death. The OPP could also launch its own investigation if the death is determined to have been the result of a criminal act. If the death is ruled to be anything other than natural causes, an inquest will be held as well. Thunder Bay Police have now released a photo of a suspect in the ongoing investigation into the vandalism of pride flags and signs in the community. This surveillance image shows a young man who police believe is a suspect connected to one such recent incident. On August 30th, around 8:30 p.m., an adult male was seen vandalizing a homeowner's pride flag. Police Services Community Inclusion Team is also aware, through posts on social media, of other similar incidents in which pride flags or signs appear to have been targeted. Police are encouraging potential victims to come forward and make a report so these incidents can be thoroughly investigated, and anyone with information is asked to call City Police or Crime Stoppers. A Thunder Bay City Councillor is hoping to address residential garbage concerns with a proposal to implement a mandatory garbage container policy for all local residents. Aldo Roberto will be taking the issue to Council on Monday night. His resolution is aimed at preventing birds and other animals from tearing apart exposed plastic bags, creating big messes on city streets. Despite being brought up several times during past council meetings, Roberto says the issue has always been low on the priority list, and he says now is the time to address what's become a long overdue nuisance across the city.
You know, you want the city to be clean, and people have to be responsible. And unfortunately, there are people out there that put their garbage out, the birds get in it, or the rats or the squirrels or whatever gets in it, garbage goes all over the place, and then the neighbors complain, and the person doesn't care. We're trying to make Thunder Bay a beautiful city, welcoming for everybody, and you know, I don't think we're asking for the world here. This is a very simple request.
Meanwhile, the city's also considering an automated curbside waste pickup system within the next few years that would feature trucks with mechanical arms to pick up garbage bins. Until that happens, Roberto wants everyone to have their own secure bins to help reduce the mess. If his motion is passed on Monday, city staff will be required to table a report with options by March of next year. With 4 new COVID-19 cases today, the Thunder Bay District now has its highest active case count in nearly 3 months. All of today's cases are in the Thunder Bay area. 1 is a result of travel outside of northwestern Ontario. There's also a close contact infection, and 2 exposure sources are still unknown at this time. There are now 15 active cases in the Thunder Bay District Health Unit catchment area, the highest total since June 19th. The Northwestern Health Unit is reporting no new infections today. There are still 8 active cases in that part of northwestern Ontario. Meanwhile, across the province, there are 554 new cases. 416 of those are in people who aren't fully vaccinated or have an unknown vaccination status, and 347 of the 375 hospitalizations are also among people who aren't fully vaccinated. As Colin DeMello reports, more people in the province are now getting the shot, due in part to the looming vaccine certificate that will be in effect later this month.
Get off the subway, go up the escalator, and straight to a vaccine pop-up. This is what the last mile strategy looks like, and it seems to be working, convincing more people to get off the sidelines and to go get their jab.
I haven't had one yet, and today I said it's my first one, and I went, yeah.
The motivation can vary here, but new provincial policy seems to be a driving factor.
Traveling and vaccine passports, and so I think everyone has to get it done.
Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health says ever since the province announced vaccine passports would be implemented on September 22nd, vaccine rates have shot up. Both first doses and second doses spiked after the government introduced passports last week.
We are still making slow progress, but if we stay at this pace to get to a high enough protection level, so over 90 could take an additional 60 days if we stay at this pace. So I'm optimistic.
But critics argue that the 2-month timeline leaves the province vulnerable to the Delta variant, which is projected to force a rise in cases in September and October. The QR code in Ontario will not be ready until October 22nd, which the NDP says is too late.
We all know how the Delta variant is such a rapidly spreading variant of this virus. Doug Ford should have used every tool possible to blunt this 4th wave, and he chose not to. And it's Ontarians that are going to suffer the consequences.
In the meantime, even those who are double-dosed are being asked to minimize their contacts and risk of exposure.
So we know that schools are heading back this week, and more indoor time is coming as the weather cools. And we also know that there are still 400,000 eligible residents that have not yet received their full 2-dose series. We need to prevent those 400,000 residents from becoming the 4th wave. So this is why the science table is recommending that everybody reduce our contacts while we race to vaccinate those in our community who haven't had the chance yet.
And as cities race to get to the unvaccinated in any way they can.
As part of our ongoing local coverage of this year's federal election, we're profiling another candidate tonight in the Thunder Bay Rainy River riding. Adelina Pecchia is running for the Conservative Party, and the ordained reverend is hoping her values will help propel her to victory in a riding that typically leans Liberal or NDP. Corey Nordstrom reports.
As a first-time candidate in the Thunder Bay Rainy River riding, Conservative Adelina Pecchia is confident that she can change the voting habits of locals and also bring change to Ottawa.
I've been hearing a lot of things about housing costs, loss of jobs, the economy. So I would like to see renewal, growth, and the implementation of the Disability Act, where we will be doubling the benefits for those on disabilities.
Born in Italy and raised in Fort William, Pecchia believes her core values will separate her from other candidates.
I care and I'm compassionate. I believe in equity, equality, and I love Thunder Bay, Rainy River. This is my hometown. This is where I grew up. I know the needs of this area.
The professional life of Pecchia has been as a reverend across Canada, including a stop in Marathon. Her time in the North Shore town showed the challenges that are being faced in many smaller municipalities.
And there's a lot of places in Thunder Bay, Rainy River riding where businesses are shutting down and a lot of factories are shutting down. And so people are worried about their jobs, and the smaller communities actually represent the larger, because people in smaller communities are more tight-knit, people understand what's going on, they pull together. And it's the same in Thunder Bay, too. There's a lot of small businesses that I'm hearing from that are really worried about their jobs.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
A series of meetings is being held this week to decide the future for the Northern Lake Superior Métis. Members have the opportunity to define their standing within the provincial organization or declare autonomy. Dozens packed into the Moose Hall for last night's event, led by local leaders as well as reps from the Métis Nation of Ontario. The point of the discussion was to chart a path forward with a question and answer period regarding what that might look like. The organization has developed 3 options. The first, and the one that's being recommended, is to work with the Métis Nation of Ontario to create a path to self-government. The second would see the regional autonomy of the group, and the last is simply to maintain the status quo.
With self-government, there's many complex issues. Harvesting's a big one for Northwestern Ontario. Fishing, hunting. We want to decide as a region and work with the government of Ontario to set harvesting practices that are practical for the region, as well as environmentally sustaining, and that takes in the needs of the region, not just the needs of the province.
Things like child and family services, aging at home for seniors, and other types of programs and services, which is on top of that agreement, but it's not part of the self-government agreement itself. It's the core self-government, the citizenship, leadership selection, and internal operations is what the main focus is.
The Northern Lake Superior Métis is also holding meetings in Geraldton tonight and Marathon tomorrow evening to get additional input. A vote on the matter will take place sometime in the near future. The new school year for Confederation College brings more than just students into classrooms. It brings new protocols and mandates, exciting virtual and physical events, and a chance for students to get back to their social ways. Danielle Bain has more.
For the past 18 months, colleges and universities have had to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. Vice President of Academics at Confederation College, Richard Gemmell, says they were very ready for this new school year after a long summer of looking at empty hallways and lonely administrators.
It's nice to have everybody back. I think people are starting to feel more positive and the anxiety level is going down. It's nice to have students and people in the building again. And I'm really just excited to see what's going on this fall.
For some college programs, it's really difficult to learn everything virtually. Last school year, the Aviation Center taught their theory online, but this year, they're able to return to full-time, in-person classes. Professor and coordinator of the aircraft maintenance program, Danny Greer, touched on the importance of having students here on site.
Most people in a trade-type program need to learn hands-on, so they need to see the parts, and for us to be at home talking about parts is not the same as them being able to physically see a helicopter or an engine or something like that.
Not only does being back in class help with practical learning skills, according to second-year student Jyrah Silen, it helps in other ways as well.
I was super excited to be back, in person. I find that when I'm able to make eye contact with the professor, it's a lot easier to engage for sure. Being online learning, we're all doing our best, but it's a lot easier for sure to stay engaged.
The college has implemented mandatory protocols such as a COVID vaccine requirement. Right now, there is a grace period until mid-October for students to get fully vaccinated, and the college is offering on-campus vaccine clinics for students and staff. Gemmell is confident in the college's plans and protocols and is already looking towards the future.
I'm really optimistic that we've sort of gotten over that big hump, and we've got the protocols in place to keep people safe. We're doing all the things that we can to stay safe within the learning environment, also in the community. I'm hopeful that we're going to have even more face-to-face delivery in January.
Danielle Bain, TBT News.
Well, Fiona, I hope all those students were holding on nice and tightly to all their books and papers and all that, because if they weren't, good chance all that was going to be blown